Soul 3 by J.N. Wdowski. For your full enjoyment, be sure to listen or read to the end of the chapter. Chapter 27. Morning came and the rains had passed. Stepping outside, they found the dirt paths between the house and the barn had turned to mud. Pixa, energized by the sun, flew in front of Dale. "This will all dry out soon." "I'm sure it will. I just hope the farmer reclosed the hatch to the shelter. I'd hate to find it flooded and everything down there ruined." Dale pulled his feet with each step as his boots stuck in the mud. "Where's the shelter supposed to be?" Chopson asked. Dale checked the back of the map, where a layout of the farm had been drawn. He pointed with his free hand. "The edge of the woods by the south field." He kept walking, as Chopson, Josh, and Zup followed, all struggling in the mud. It did not take them long to pass through the cornfield, which had never been harvested due to the farmer and his family fleeing from the hordes. Pixa flew above the green stalks of corn just ahead of them. "I think I see it," she called back. "Is the hatch closed?" Dale asked. "Yes, I think so. A door in the ground." "Strange," she replied, leading them to the hatch the farmer had uncovered when he was extending his field. They gathered around the hatch and looked at the heavy steel door embedded in a cement structure. Chopson lifted it with ease. The hinges creaked, and the door fell back hard as he opened it. Looking down, they saw a ladder descending into pitch darkness. "I cannot go down there with you," Pixa explained. Dale looked up at her. "I'd feel better if you didn't. We have no idea what's waiting down there." "Zup's monsters guarding the treasure?" Josh grinned. "The great author likes to keep the narrative interesting." "Ha! Sometimes I wish I didn't live in such interesting times," Zup replied, as he opened one of the glass lanterns they'd taken from the farmhouse to light it. "I'd rather be wrong and not run into any monsters." The others lit their copper lanterns too. "I'll go first," Chopson said, not waiting for Dale's approval. He began his descent, holding the ladder with one hand and his lantern with the other. Dale followed, also gripping a lantern to light his way. Josh, having the advantage of 4 arms, held his lantern in one hand and used the other 3 to climb down. "You should have let me go first. I can make it down faster," Josh called down to Chopson. Zup followed behind. He looked up at Pixa. "If any demonoids or Gorics show up, I think Dale would want you to rush back to the farmhouse where the men are waiting." "I'll be sure to get help if any do," Pixa said with a smile. At the bottom, Chopson held up his lantern to light the space. There was a single door in front of him. He stepped toward it, and lights above flickered on. Seeing the sudden light below, Dale called down, worried, to Chopson. "Are you okay?" Chopson looked up, spotting them quickening their descent. "I'm fine. Strange lights just turned on. They're not lanterns, no heat, and no flames." As they each reached the bottom, they placed their lanterns down beside the ladder. They walked to where Chopson stood in front of the heavy steel door. Next to the door was a pad of buttons with numbers on them. Chopson tried to force the door open, but it wouldn't budge. He took one of the axes off his back and with both hands attempted to chop through the door. The axe sparked with each blow but barely scratched the door. Josh gently moved Chopson aside. "Let me try." Gripping the edges of the door with his 4 arms, he tried to get a hold of the door and pry it open. "It's locked." "I know it's locked. Why do you think I was trying my axe?" Chopson replied, frustrated. Dale looked at the number keypad beside the door. "A combination lock, but it is not mechanical. It is not like any lock I have ever seen." Zup took a closer look at the keypad. "Human numbers." Zup pressed several of the buttons, trying many different combinations and patterns, only to set off a negative buzzing sound each time he tried 6 numbers. "Well, at least we know it is a 6-number combination," Dale pointed out. "If it allows repeated numbers, we are talking 1,000,000 different combinations," Zup explained. "How do you know that?" Chopson asked. "Math," Zup replied. "You humans still know math." "Yes, Zup. We know math. We just don't calculate them in our heads so fast," Dale answered. I didn't calculate in my head. Zoop replied, as a palace guard, the treasury has a mechanical combination lock on it that also requires 6 correct digits to open. I was told it has 1 million possible combinations. I do not think we will stumble on the correct combination anytime soon. Pixa had descended the ladder tube and approached them. Let me try. Pixa, I thought you couldn't come down here. Dale was surprised by her presence. She looked at the artificial lights above her. That was before those turned on. She looked at the keypad and pointed her wand at it. The tip glowed, and oddly, the pad gave a ringing bell sound as the door's locking mechanism loudly unbolted and swung open. How did you do that? Dale was amazed, as were the others. I just gave it a little tickle. She smiled. Josh asked, like you tickled the children? Yes, like I tickled the children. It worked, didn't it? The door opened into the next room. The lights all triggered on as they entered the space. They were looking down a long corridor with several doors. The walls were white and the floors were marble-tiled. The large shelter had a futuristic ambience, with a low humming sound of unseen technology. Stepping on a grill in front of them, it triggered a powerful rush of air, cleaning the mud off each of their boots as they stepped upon it. At first, it frightened all of them, but they realized quickly it was benign. It is very clean. Pixa floated just behind Dale. There must be people still living here, Chopson suggested. I am not sensing anything alive, Pixa replied. They walked further in. Dale went to the first door and opened it. It was a dining room with a kitchen in the back. An android servant standing in the corner switched on as they entered. May I take your order? Someone is alive. Chopson, holding his battle axe at the ready, stepped forward. I sense no life, Pixa insisted. May I take your order? The android repeated. Dale gently used his hand to lower Chopson's axe. He approached the android. What is this place? You are in the dining hall, sir. The machine dressed in a tuxedo answered in a monotone voice. May I take your order? Who are you? Dale asked. I am a state-of-the-art D.W. Miller domestic servant. Without any emotions, it repeated, May I take your order? Where are we? Dale asked again. I mean, what is this place? You are in the dining room. May I take your order? Zup walked up to the android to look straight into its eyes. He noticed the machine's eyes had no life to them. It's a type of mechanical puppet. I think it is limited in what it can understand. An autonomous puppet? Chopson was confused. I knew the ancients had amazing machines, but human machines? I am a state-of-the-art D.W. Miller domestic servant. The android responded, not flinching as Chopson closely examined him. May I take your order? What's on the menu? Josh asked as he too closely examined the android. The android hesitated as it connected to the kitchen's automated system. I am sorry, but we are out of stock of all our menu items. The robot's eyes went dark as it shut itself down. Well, that was interesting. Dale looked around as he took in the sterile, slightly ammonia smell of the room. There was only one large maple dining table in the room, large enough to sit a dozen. Someone or something has been keeping this place clean for over 1,000 years. At that moment, back in the corridor of the large shelter, a beeping sound became louder with the sound of rubber wheels approaching their location. Dale went to the doorway and looked down the corridor. He saw a box-like machine, looking like a turtle, spraying water in front of it, and then vacuuming up the water, making the floor cleaner behind it. Dale took a couple of steps into the hallway and stood in front of it. He was curious how it could be moving. The others followed him to also investigate the sound. What is that? Chopson raised his axe as the box rolled towards them. As it approached Dale, it stopped spraying and came to a full stop. Excuse me, it spoke in a mechanical female voice. Dale stepped aside and the device resumed spraying and mopping the floor. He turned to the others in the doorway. Well, now we know what is keeping the place clean. Let's find the armory. Dale led them down the cleaner hallway to the next room. Opening the next door, they found a lounge area. It had a desk, sofa, 2 armchairs, and several bookcases with at least 1,000 volumes of leather-bound books. Another service android in a female form wore a French maid outfit. It was using one of its arms to dust, while its other arm functioned like a vacuum cleaner. The room was spotless. The android ignored their presence in the room. Dale walked to it and asked, "What is this place?" The female-looking machine did not respond and continued with its cleaning chores. "I don't think this one talks at all," Zoop observed. "Stop," Pixa said to the android. The machine stopped its cleaning. "Clean the next room." She commanded it. The android maid left the room and went to the next room to clean. "It can hear," Pixa responded. "And understand some voice commands," added Chopson. Dale walked up to the large back wall lined with built-in bookcases as tall as Zup. It had 6 shelves. Between the 2 bookcases was a cement column. Upon the column hung a glass frame with a letter inside it. Josh was in awe of all the books. He took one off the shelf and opened it. He handed it to Dale. "You can read this?" Dale took the book and opened it to its title page. William Shakespeare, The Complete Works. Josh took the book from him and placed it back. He then took another off a different part of the shelves and handed that also to Dale. "This one?" Dale looked at the gold leaf printing on the leather cover. Journals and other documents on the life and voyages of Christopher Columbus. Translated and edited by Samuel Eliot Morison. Like a child in a candy store, Josh took another book from another section and gave it to Dale. "Read this one," he requested. "Our Nation's Archive, The History of the United States in Documents," edited by Eric Brune and Jay Crosby. He handed the book back to Josh to return it to the shelf. "Amazing, one more." Josh handed him another book in a soft red leather with golden lettering. The Holy Bible. Dale read the cover and turned to the title page. The Holy Bible, containing the Old and New Testaments. King James Version. Satisfying Josh's excitement. Dale then focused on the framed letter under glass. Unlike the books, it was not in print, but written by hand. He read the letter out loud for them all to hear. To my descendants. This library was not built out of nostalgia. It was built with purpose. What you find here is not a complete collection. It was never meant to be. I left out many books. That too was by design. There is no Communist Manifesto, no Little Red Book, no Quran, no Mein Kampf, no Plato's Republic, no gender theories, no identity politics, no fever dreams of utopia built on obedience and blood. These weren't forgotten. They were rejected. For elevating ideology over the individual, and for teaching people to follow instead of think. I watched the towers fall, the borders vanish, the currencies rot, the language twisted. The end didn't come with bombs, but with betrayal from within. When the hammer and the crescent joined forces, they didn't build anything. They destroyed Western civilization. Reason, liberty, inquiry, self-rule. No one won the Grand War. There were only survivors. These books won't give you paradise. They'll teach you how to grow, build, heal, think, and remember what was worth saving. Don't rebuild the world we lost. Build something better. Not in my image, but in the image of the best of us. Of Athens, not Babylon. Of Locke, not Lenin. Of Lincoln, not those who tore his statues down. There are no perfect answers in this room, only better ones. Marcus T. Weston, engineer and founder of New Futures Incorporated, husband, father, and uncommon man. This collection could be more valuable than any weapons we find down here. Chopson was not as overwhelmed as Josh with so many books. Yet he understood the importance of such a find. Those books Marcus chose not to add to this library must have been extremely dangerous, Zup stated. Perhaps he realized that some knowledge is better forgotten. I would want to have been able to read them, Dale responded. His purposely leaving them out make me more curious to know what they said. According to his letter, it was those dangerous ideas that destroyed humanity's domain. Zoop defended Marcus. I still would rather make that choice myself, Dale answered. Bad ideas censor. Good ideas can withstand bad ones. Continue to Chapter 28.
To support the author, please like, share, comment, and subscribe.